Hey everyone, it's Lisa from the blog farmhouseonboone.com, and today I am doing some freezer meal prep to prepare for baby number 6. So if you've been following along with my YouTube channel, blog, Instagram, all that kind of stuff, you might know that I'm getting closer to delivering our 6th child. So currently, at time of recording, I am 37 weeks pregnant. This video should go up pretty soon. I might be 38 when it comes out. So obviously it's getting to be crunch time for baby coming. I've never had a baby early. Now, it's a different story for a different day, but I was induced with my 2nd child, so she was born early. However, the other 4 that came completely naturally were born between 40 weeks and 1 day and 41 weeks and 1 day. So I'm not expecting to have this baby anytime soon, even though I am full term. Medically speaking, I'm still hoping to go at least 3 or 4 weeks. I actually really kind of like going to at least 40 weeks because my labors were easy, the babies didn't have jaundice. Everything just went better whenever I went over the due date than my one daughter where she was induced early. So I'm not exactly ready, but I know how this goes, and before you know it, I'm gonna be having a baby and we need some meals planned. Now before I get into what all I'm making, I want to point out that there will be a blog post that corresponds with this video. So if you just want to do something like this and you want to know the recipes I used and all of the ingredients and kind of how I'm preparing for baby in a quick condensed blog post format with printable recipe cards and all that kind of stuff, the link will be in the description box below for you to check that out and be able to follow along that way instead of watching this entire video. All right, so first let's talk about how I planned this. I have a note going in my phone that has kind of the meals that I wanted to make and how to prepare for this. So the day before I actually did this, so yesterday, I got a few of my sourdough things going. So I have on this menu plan some sourdough tortillas, sourdough English muffins, and a meal that has my sourdough biscuits on top. So to do that, I needed to make sure that I had those things going the day before. So I just followed my recipes that I have all on my blog and got sourdough mixed with my whole grain flour. And it sat out for a little bit more than 24 hours because it was over the weekend. And anyways, it's all ready to be made into some sourdough creations. And then I have over on the stove some beans cooking. They were soaked. And then I have in my Instant Pot a whole chicken going. And now I'm working on some ground beef, which before I get too further, I'm gonna add some garlic for flavoring it. And then I'll explain to you what all of this stuff is for and how I'm gonna get it in the freezer. I love cooking fresh garlic whenever I'm browning beef. Just makes it really tasty. I also am gonna add in some peppers and onions. I'm also gonna get some salt going in this, so it's some nice, really flavorful cooked meat, which will be really easy for Luke to pull out and just be able to use. So let me go through my phone here. I planned this all on Saturday and just kind of wrote out what I wanted to make. And then I'm gonna include some instructions for Luke in the freezer as well. Not that he cannot figure this out on his own, because he totally can. I just know that we're all gonna be going through a transition time whenever we add another baby to this family. And so this will make it as smooth as possible. Now with my last kids, we had quite a few meals brought to our home from church members, but we moved kind of far away from church now. And I don't really expect anyone to want to drive all the way out to our house to bring us a meal. Now, if they do, that's totally fine. I'm sure my sister will, she definitely will. And my mom, they'll come see the baby, and my mother-in-law, and probably bring food, but probably take longer to adjust than I'm thinking. All right, so here's what is on the menu for today. I'm gonna make white chicken chili, freeze it all the way made with some homemade bone broth. That's what the beans on the stove are for. I'm gonna do some zucchini noodles. So I use a little spiralizer and I'm just gonna freeze those and then have a bag of beef like this that he can take and mix together the cooked zoodles, I think is what people call them, the zucchini noodles, a jar of organic pasta sauce that I get from Aldi, and some of this beef, just mix it all up in a pot. It'll make for such a fast dinner. Breakfast sandwiches. So this is something I haven't done in forever. I used to, when Luke was working before he came home full time, make him these sourdough English muffin breakfast sandwiches. They had eggs, cheese, sausage, and their own sourdough English muffins, and I wrapped them in foil, which I know is not the best eco-friendly option. But it was so nice because at the beginning of the week, he could get out a bag full of those and then every day just pop one in the toaster oven while he was getting ready for work and just take it. But for baby number 6, I'm kind of thinking breakfast will just stay the same. They're so easy. We just do smoothies and scrambled eggs. So the breakfast sandwiches will probably be something we will use for lunch or dinner, even though they're breakfast. We just have so many eggs right now with our chickens all laying that I'd like to use them up in that way, and our kids will enjoy eating that for dinner just because it's a sandwich, and my kids love sandwiches, especially if there's meat and cheese involved. So those are gonna be a breakfast for dinner type thing. And I'm also going to shred up some mozzarella cheese for my sourdough pizzas. So those are super easy. Basically, I have a recipe here, but you put sourdough starter on a preheated cast iron skillet or pizza stone, and then just top it with some, I'm gonna use just jarred Aldi organic sauce and cheese. It'll make for a really easy meal, especially if the cheese is already shredded. Now I like to shred stuff like that in bulk because I get my food processor out and do it all at once. I don't buy pre-shredded cheese because I don't like how it melts. It's all coated with something to keep it from sticking in the store in the bags, and it melts terribly. So for those pizzas, Luke can either just make a quick crust, add the sauce, and then my frozen cheese, or he could add some veggies on top too if he's feeling extra ambitious. He probably will because he loves veggies, but that will make for an easy meal. And then I'm gonna make some sauerkraut because we're getting close to out and we use it a ton, and it'll just be good to have a whole bunch made before baby comes. So I bought 6 heads of cabbage to do that. And then the last thing on my list was a zucchini lasagna, which I'll use this beef for too. I believe I have 6 pounds of beef to cook, 3 whole chickens. Now, if I don't use all of my chicken in my pot pie and in my white chicken chili, I'll just shred the rest of it and put it in some baggies and freeze for like some easy burritos or something like that. But I'm gonna cook all 3 whole chickens, 6 pounds of meat, tons of veggies. Let's get started. Now all of this meat I'm gonna set aside as I continue to cook it until it's really cool, and then it is just gonna go in Ziploc bags. Some of the things that are gonna be pre-made are gonna go in glass 9x13 dishes just because I have a lot of those because I often cook several things at one time so we can eat it throughout the week. So I'm just gonna put those with the silicone lids in the freezer. Another option, of course, is to plan ahead and buy some foil 9x13 dishes. Now there are some tricks to freezing things in glass. With glass jars, I've broken way too many. If you wanna freeze bone broth ahead or something like that. The trick is to allow it to freeze fully with the lid off so it has room to expand, but not to put it in the freezer until it's completely cool. So if you've broken a lot of jars, that is the key. You don't add the lid until it's fully frozen. And you want to also make sure to leave some space. So just don't fill the jar up all the way. And that is how you can freeze things like that. I think I'm gonna use some half-gallon mason jars to do my white chicken chili. Now, Luke's going to probably pull a lot of the food I made out of the freezer, maybe the day I'm in labor, the day after, and put it in the refrigerator because obviously all these things are gonna have to be thawed. And we really don't know when baby's coming until I'm in labor. So probably the day I'm in labor, or maybe after like some of the guests have come and worn off, he'll start to pull those things out so we can utilize all of this. Now, if you followed along with me, you might know I'm not really a meal planner. I'm kind of whatever the season that we have most of, throw it together, see what you can come up with kind of gal. The only reason this is feeling like a really good idea to do is I am still, although Luke's home helping me with the kids full time and my blog is our full-time gig, I am still the cook, 100%. I mean, Luke can totally, you know, make eggs and smoothies. He can make anything. It's just my job. It's what I like to do. I enjoy cooking. I enjoy putting on some music and cooking. And so anyways, because it's my thing, I'm kind of thinking that to ease the transition, it should still be mine. And one great way to do that is to prepare ahead with freezer meals. So, not normally into them. I can see how it'd be kind of nice because you get everything dirty at once. I just don't normally plan ahead enough to do that. And storage sometimes is a bit of a problem because we buy our meat in bulk and things like that, and so we don't normally have tons of storage in our freezer and fridge. But we're gonna make do. So this hopefully will go a little easier. After this chicken cools, I'm just going to take it off the bone, set it aside for the meals that I had it prepared for. And I do like this because now I can just get another chicken going and not clean my Instant Pot. It's definitely gonna save a little time. Got some more beef, onions, peppers, and garlic going in my skillet. All right, I have my 6 pounds of ground beef cooked, which I'll show you what I'm gonna do with that later. 1 chicken cooked and 1 still going. It has 26 minutes. Now I'm cooking up some sausage. Now this is gonna be for those breakfast sandwiches that I was telling you about. I'm actually kind of mad I ever forgot about these because I know for sure everyone's gonna love them. And I should be having these all the time for in a pinch. So I'm cooking sausage. I'm gonna sneak in here some red onion and a green bell pepper I have from the garden. Whenever this is gonna be covered with cheese and on sourdough, kids aren't gonna notice onions even if they don't like them, especially if you chop them tiny. My kids personally will not notice them. And so you might as well sneak it in. It's extra flavor and extra veggies. Now, if this was just gonna be for Luke, for me, it would have jalapenos in it, but that's one thing I can't sneak in with the kids. So they would definitely be crying. So I'm not gonna do that. We don't need mouths burning, but these green bell peppers will add some great flavor. I only grabbed a pound of sausage. I'm kind of thinking now I should have grabbed more. I have a double batch of sourdough English muffins soaking. I'll probably do 2 dozen eggs, so it just won't have a whole lot of sausage per egg, but it'll still really add to the flavor. All right, running low on space here. I just went and washed a bunch of eggs. We don't wash them right away from our chickens because they actually stay good a lot longer whenever they aren't washed. But I like to wash them before putting them in dishes because you can imagine what could fall into your food, which is not good. So I'm gonna get about 2 dozen eggs in here. Then I'm gonna add my sausage, and then I'm going to cook them in a 9x13 pan. This is for the breakfast sandwiches. I like doing it this way because then I can cut everything out in squares and put it on the sourdough English muffins and they don't fall apart whenever you're trying to reheat them later. Of course, if I made scrambled eggs in a cast iron skillet, they would be falling all over the place and would take the convenience right out of it. Okay, I'm just gonna pour in some milk. I don't measure. The more you put in, the fluffier they'll be, but obviously you don't want them liquidy. I'm gonna add a little bit of salt and pepper and then just scramble them up. All right, I'm just gonna use my fingers to coat a 9x13 pan with some coconut oil just to make it a little bit less sticky. For approximate numbers, I have 24 eggs, probably about a cup of milk, and about a teaspoon of salt. I'm just gonna add my cooked sausage in the oven at 350 degrees. All right, next up is English muffins. This batter I have going here is pretty sour because I let it sit for more than 24 hours, but it will taste really great once it's in these sandwiches. So I'm just doing the next day thing, which is adding salt, baking soda, and honey. Now I did a double batch. I wanted 24 sandwiches, it'd be about an egg per sandwich, and then 1 pound of sausage distributed throughout. I'm gonna cook these up, and then next I think I'm gonna make my pot pie. All right, I'm moving right along. So I made 24 of the egg sandwiches. I just baked the eggs until they were done, which was about 35 to 40 minutes at 350. Then I continued to make my sourdough English muffins. I had 24 of those. Then I added, when the eggs were all done, I just sliced up some cheese until it melted on top. I just kind of let it sit there while I was working on other things. Then I cut the sourdough English muffins all in half, added 1/24 of my 9x13 skillet of eggs to each one, and then I wrapped each individual sandwich in foil. Now I realize foil is not the ideal kitchen solution. In fact, I really don't use foil pretty much for any other application in my kitchen other than when I used to make Luke these sandwiches. I just find that they stay really nicely tight together. But to serve these, I get them out of the fridge and just sit them in the fridge at the beginning of the week so that they thaw out, and then I remove them from the foil and then reheat them either in a warm oven, or we used to use our toaster oven. So Luke would just get one going while he was getting ready for work. We'll probably put like one per person in a 9x13 or on a cookie sheet or in a cast iron skillet, and then put it in the oven at 300 or in a large cast iron skillet with a lid just on super low so they can get kind of heat back up. As long as they're already thawed, they heat pretty quickly. Now some of the English muffins, I didn't cook as I would have if they were being served right away. Some of them were still a little bit doughy, but that will cook whenever they're reheating. I also made up a bunch of zoodles, which is just the zucchini made into the noodles with one of those noodle maker things. My kids will eat this so well, like it's just spaghetti. So I made 2 full meals of that. And I just wrote on the bag for Luke to toss it with some of the organic pasta sauce. I just get it from Aldi because it's super easy and it's organic and it's cheap. And 1 bag of the meat that I made with the garlic and the onions and the peppers. So that should be 2 different meals, super easy. He'll just toss the 3 things together in a pot, stir it up, and serve it up. also packaged up the rest of the meat as taco or nacho meat. So now I'm going to make up some of my sourdough tortillas that I have a recipe for on here. I did a double batch. I got some dough going, and all I have to do now is roll it out. This will make 24 tortillas, and then just cook it lightly on each side in my cast iron skillet. I have 3 skillets going because I want to make this a short process. All right, I got my 24 tortillas made. Now for these, I'm thinking either to go with some of the taco meat that I put in the freezer, or my daughters recently found out that they can make quesadillas by themselves, and they've been having fun with that. So I'm going to put them in this once they cool, and then I'm gonna shred up some cheese as part of this prep as well and put that in a bag and freeze it, because I've done a lot of shredded cheese frozen and it works great. And then they can make some quick quesadillas just by putting this in a cast iron skillet with some butter and the shredded cheese, and then serve it with the sauerkraut and avocado, and then some salsa would be great. All right, I just pulled the last of the 3 chickens out of the Instant Pot and got all of the chicken off the bones. And so I'm left with 3 chickens worth of bones. So I'm gonna make a whole bunch of bone broth, and this will be great for my white chicken chili that I'm also gonna be making. I really love doing it this way because the Instant Pot has been in use all day long and I haven't had to wash it until the end of today. I'm gonna wash it, of course, but it's wonderful to get all of this made without several times washing my Instant Pot. All right, next up I'm gonna make a chicken pot pie. Now I normally make this in a cast iron skillet and then just eat it in a cast iron skillet. I'm gonna make it in my cast iron skillet, but then I am going to put it in a 9x13 glass dish and freeze it. Normally I bake the biscuits, the sourdough biscuits on top, but this time I'm gonna put the raw biscuits on top. So the main portion, like the sauce and chicken and vegetables, are all gonna be cooked. I'm gonna leave the baking portion of it undone, so that way it tastes really fresh and not like it's been baked twice. Although I have doubled this recipe and then my family eaten half of it and then rebaked it, and it's still really good. I just want to try it with the biscuits unbaked and see what happens. So this recipe, along with all the others that I'm doing in this freezer prep, is going to be on the blog. This is a new one. This is one I've been experimenting with for a while. My husband said that when he finally tried like the finished version of the recipe, that it's the best food he's ever had. So I think we finally have a winner and it's ready to be on the blog. So yeah, you can head over there and get that. Now I often get questions from people who don't want a sourdough starter if there is a non-sourdough version of all of my recipes. A lot of times it's kind of hard to come up with one because I've adjusted everything so that it can be sourdough. But with this one, you can totally follow the recipe because in the end I put the sourdough biscuits on top. And if you just use a normal biscuit recipe, it will be just as good. I think sourdough's better, of course, but it will work great and be delicious, I'm positive. All right, well, I am officially exhausted. I've been cooking all day long, so from about 9 o'clock until 4 in the afternoon. Of course, there were some kid interruptions in there, but I feel like I got quite a bit done here and in preparation for baby. So I ended up with a zucchini lasagna that should feed us twice based on the amount of food that's in there. A chicken pot pie. Those will both be frozen in the 9x13 dishes. 24 sourdough tortillas, which will be probably at least 2 or 3 lunches with either quesadillas or taco meat. 2 bags of taco meat, which will work for that, or maybe some nachos. 24 sandwiches that have the eggs and the sausage. That'll probably work for about 3 meals for our family. 2 meals worth of the zucchini spaghetti. White chicken chili, made a ton of that. So there will be enough of that for probably 3 or 4 meals. And then I had some leftover chicken that I just put in some Ziplocs and froze. That will be good for either chicken salad or more burritos or nachos. It's always good to have some cooked meat on hand. We could use it to make some sourdough skillets. And a 1.5 gallons of sauerkraut, which we'll just be eating with all of these things along the way. It'll be ready in about a week, so well before baby comes, we'll probably be getting into it because we're almost done with our previous batch of sauerkraut before the baby comes, but it'll carry me quite a bit through postpartum without having to make any sauerkraut, but still getting those good fermented vegetables. All right, well, make sure to head over to the blog. I'm gonna have all the recipes I discussed here, a list of all of the meals that we ended up having, a list of everything that we ended up with, and all that you need to do a meal prepping day like this in your family if you have a baby coming, or if you just like to prepare ahead for a couple of weeks of meals so that you don't have to cook at every meal. This will be really great because the kitchen is destroyed, but several things I noticed I use over and over again, like some dishes that I used and spoons and knives and the Instant Pot that I still haven't cleaned all day, and now I'm gonna clean it all, but I got 2 weeks worth of cooking out of the way without that amount of dishes, or probably around 2 weeks of cooking. If you are brand new to my channel and you have no idea why I'm going through the effort of making the grains that are in all of my recipes sourdough as opposed to just straight from my grain mill, I have lots of videos and posts on that, and I'm gonna include quite a bit of information about that in the blog post as well, so that you can know why that is. And if you want to go down a rabbit trail with all my old videos, there's that too. I'll leave my sourdough playlist below. Thank you so much for watching this video and following along with my meal prepping. If you're brand new to my channel, please hit that subscribe button. I make 2 new videos every week on food from scratch, natural living, and a handmade home. Thank you so much for stopping by the farmhouse.